There I was, just a-walking down the street saying, Danny, Dana, 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 Dana. Stephen wakes up alone and decides to make everyone breakfast. He toasts up some waffles, drizzles maple syrup. I think it could be chocolate syrup. He pops corn, carefully drops a strawberry, and all the while waits by the temple door.
1, 2, 3, warp in!
The breakfast is perfect, but there's no one for sharing.
It's a together breakfast.
Garnet arrives via warp pad with a rolled up piece of paper, but she can't stay long. She opens the temple door. Finally, we get to see inside. It opens with a red animation. She has to burn this paper.
Cool!
And now Stephen's phone, too. Stephen tries to follow her, but he can't open the temple door like they can.
Open door!
A random cop shows up to do a violence, but it's just Amethyst with a water gun. The temple door opens with a purple animation, and Amethyst says that that's her door, but she's out here. Pearl comes out with a sword, which is apparently hers despite being in Amethyst's room. She cleaned up the mess, upsetting Amethyst, who runs inside and closes the door behind her. Pearl doesn't try very hard to care about Stephen's together breakfast. She activates the door again using a light blue animation and steps inside. Stephen rushes to follow her with the breakfast and makes it in time to catch the door. And now we've entered the place where the laws of physics have no meaning. There are lots of platforms floating around with waterfalls coming off. Pearl is on top of one doing a dance in order to put away the sword. Yes, doing a dance to put away the sword. Stephen interrupts.
Hey, Pearl!
Stephen!
He tries to swim the breakfast over to her, but he's not on the right platform and ends up falling down a waterfall into a water slide, which can only be described through dreams. Before falling into the junkyard, or I guess it's Amethyst's room. Well, the waffles are definitely soggy now. Pearl's stuff falls down here all the time, like Stephen. She ends up blaming Amethyst for it, even though it's not Amethyst's fault. Amethyst tries to steal the together breakfast.
It's for everyone to eat together. That's the essence of together breakfast.
Gimme!
But Stephen runs away into a cave of twistiness? Into a cave that twists as he runs. The cave turns square as it reaches the night sky. Yep. Stephen continues across that room to a place filled with tubes and a big weird statue. Amethyst suddenly turns serious, and Pearl shows up with a frightened cry about the crystal heart.
It's connected to the most dangerous areas of the temple!
Stephen looks down and cartoon style falls down the firehouse pole. Into a sort of bubble room? There are gems floating in bubbles in the air, and a pool of lava in the middle of the room. Garnet's there. She throws Stephen's phone into the lava, followed by the scroll she had been carrying. But I guess she has to unravel it in order for it to burn properly? She traps the smoke in a bubble, and the other two try to get Stephen to leave. But Stephen interrupts Garnet this time.
Ah, this is great! We're all together!
Garnet loses control of the bubble, and a sort of smoke monster bursts out and goes for Stephen. Strike that, it went for the together breakfast. Now instead of a smoke monster, they have to fight a breakfast monster.
Now it has all the power of a breakfast.
Pearl's too grossed out to be effective. Garnet tries to punch something sticky, which goes about as well as you would think, so Amethyst has to try and pull her out and is occupied doing that. Stephen, holding the plate forward, forces the monster into the pit of lava.
I'm sorry, guys. I guess I dreamed too big.
Later, everyone remakes the together breakfast together, but are too traumatized to eat it.
Let's order pizza.
It's the temple episode! We get to see where Amethyst, Garnet, and Pearl spend their time when they're not out on missions or spending time with Stephen. We're also given an explanation as to why Stephen has to live outside the temple instead of inside. He simply can't open the door. Also, later there's this scene.
Oh, hey! This isn't so bad!
We'll come back to that later, when you're older, in a few episodes. If you'll notice, Stephen makes 4 waffles because there are 4 of them. And of course, I have to mention the terrible joke he makes.
But it's in a stack! So I guess you could say it's a balanced breakfast?
followed by the even worse face. I love how the temple door changes according to which room they're going to end up in, but I wish that we saw it more in the episode. I wish we would have seen it more from the inside. Do the gems have to work it the same way when they're leaving as when they are entering? Also, there's the crystal heart. It's something that they never really explain. So again, I have to just go off the context.
It's connected to the most dangerous areas of the temple.
I'm starting to speak Pearl, so what she means by most dangerous, she probably means the most magical. I get the impression that someone told her once that gem magic is dangerous for humans.
Wait, is that a magical thing?
She just took that straight to heart. So if she doesn't want Stephen to have access to certain areas of the temple, it's probably because they're too magic for him to deal with. So if the crystal heart is connected to dangerous areas, it's probably because it's causing them to be dangerous with its magic. The crystal heart's the reason physics don't apply here. Crystals and gems make things magic. Validate the hippies! A few episodes ago I mentioned the gems can change their shape. We get to see this briefly in the episode when Amethyst shapeshifts. Notice that she has to turn to light before she can change her shape. You'll see this whenever anyone shapeshifts in this series. They have to kind of unform in order to reform into something else. Also, almost all the time they have to continue to match their own color, but Amethyst is able to turn her color into a different color when she's a cop. When she has an amethyst head and a cop body, for some reason the cop body is a different color than her amethyst head, and I just don't understand how that works. And whenever I try to point it out to somebody, they tell me that I'm imagining it, and if you're watching it on a computer, you have to change the tilt of the screen in order to see that it's different, but then you're like, okay, well maybe it's just the tilt of the screen that's making it different. I'm getting away from myself. Just tell me if you see it. I need someone to validate this. Spooky speculations. This is the first and probably the least creepy of the Season 1 horror trilogy. It's a good warm-up being the most mild. To me, what makes it creepy is how uncanny the whole thing feels. When I described it in the summary, I felt like I was trying to describe one of my dreams. The color scheme changes drastically between rooms, and the audience can't keep track of where everything is in relation with each other. It's disorienting and gives a sense of a loss of control, being lost somewhere that you don't recognize.
I'm hungry!
It's almost Lovecraftian, or maybe Babycraftian? The breakfast monster is also pretty creepy, but that might just be because of how sticky it is. I can't eat pancakes without getting syrup anywhere, even when I don't get syrup on my pancakes. I don't know how anyone fights this thing without making faces like Pearl is. Good thing Steven's able to destroy it without touching anything but the plate. I bet he took a bath between scenes. Yeah, you can even see it, look. He totally changed clothes. They even foreshadow it earlier when Steven has to change from getting wet.
'Cause that's a water gun. And I'm not dumb.
Take my word for it, I'm sure of it. Rating! So I've been doing ratings on an F through A scale, like you would do at school, but I want to alter that just a little bit. I'm going to be rating things on a D through S scale, with D starting at 50% and anything below that just being unrated. Though I don't think that that's going to happen. I don't know who this affects besides me, but I just don't like giving bad grades to my favorite things. Anyway, characters! We get to see Pearl and Amethyst in their bedrooms. Maybe even Garnet, but I don't know if that's her actual bedroom. Maybe she just likes to sleep in lava. I guess they're kind of bedrooms, but they're not really bedrooms because none of them have beds. Pearl keeps things organized to the point where it looks almost empty except for the waterfalls. And Amethyst is most comfortable surrounded by junk. She seems to collect things of all sorts just for the sake of collecting.
Better.
And of course, Pearl's waterfalls don't help.
Pearl gets so mad that I have her junk, but it's always falling down here.
7. World. This one showcases the temple. Aren't you glad you finally understand how the temple works? And how people travel between rooms? And how everything is powered? Aren't you glad that you understand all of that now? 5. Yeah, I'll give it a 5. Plot. Nothing to advance the plot. Nothing here to be analyzed for foreshadowing.
Oh, hey! This isn't so bad.
5. Art and animation. I mentioned the strange coloring with when Amethyst does her shapeshifting, and that bothers me, but not all that much. Something that actually bothers me more is that I think the artist struggles with drawing larger rooms. When the characters have dots for their eyes instead of fully drawn eyes, that's supposed to represent them being far away, but in certain shots, it doesn't look like they're very far away, even though they're supposed to be all the way across the room. 6. Gasm factor. I can't believe they never ate the together breakfast together for breakfast. 3.
I have to burn this too.
Join me next week for another fun celebration of Oct Universe, Steven Tober, Steven Spookiverse. Why didn't I workshop this earlier?